And we're joined on the phone today by Jeff Abraham. He's the author of the new book, The Show Won't Go On, The Most Shocking, Bizarre, and Historic Deaths of Performers on Stage. Jeff, how you doing today?
Good. Are you near Minneapolis?
Yep, we are, and we are big fans of comedy around these parts, so it's great to be speaking with you today.
But you also have one of the most famous deaths in our book took place in Minneapolis.
Yeah, well, the book we're talking about, I'd love to hear about it. The book, The Show Won't Go On. Can you tell us a bit about the book and the Minneapolis part that's involved in there?
The book is all about performers who literally met their demise on stage, and who we've all heard the expression, the show must go on. But in our case, it's people who did not go on. And one of the most famous deaths on stage is a gentleman. It happened in Minneapolis, the legendary Tiny Tim. Tiny Tim was performing. He was not in great health. He had a heart attack about a month earlier, and the doctors told him to take some time off, and he didn't. He was performing at a women's auxiliary club, and after performing his trademark song, Tiptoe Through the Tulips, he said to his wife, Miss Sue, I don't think I'm feeling well, and then had a heart attack and died.
Yeah, that is...
Talk about an ending.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the stories in the book here, it just seems like, performers perform, and even when you mention they're not in great health or they're sick, they still get out there and perform, and sometimes that's the last performance. Yeah,
it is that expression, the show must go on. People say that performance gives... adrenaline from performing is oxygen for their blood, but unfortunately some of these people, maybe should have taken some time off or performing longer than they should have.
Well, Jeff, can you talk to us a bit about how you put this book together? I know there's a lot of, always misinformation or maybe exaggeration over the years when it comes to a lot of these stories that you have in the book.
We've always said if we wanted to do this book and just gone to Wikipedia, we could have written the book in about 20 minutes. But we really spent 3 years going through newspaper archives, interviewing people, using reference books, cross-referencing. So they were really to avoid any urban legends. And, back and forth, because people would always tell us stories and go, I don't know if that's right. The one people have always asked us about was Granny from Beverly Hillbillies, who died during a performance of Pippin, but she collapsed and died like months later at here in Santa Monica, and she was on Broadway. So it was a lot of painstakingly research. And then obviously when you can talk to the son of Dick Shawn and get an eyewitness account, that's even better.
Well, and you guys really went back with the people you covered. I know I saw a few of them even back into the late 1800s.
Yeah, some of the early deaths go back even further. Magicians trying to do the bullet catch trick. Yes, we wanted to give you, it's a wonderful history of show business, up from the days of the 1600s up through today's YouTube stars, people who've had YouTube, quote, TV shows who've been captured on live.
Well, and again, the book, The Show Won't Go On, The Most Shocking, Bizarre, and Historic Deaths of Performers on Stage is out. And I always think of, when we're discussing this kind of thing, I don't know if it happened on stage or on his way back, but I always think of Red Fox and, his heart attack shtick and then, it actually happening to him.
Absolutely. Our criteria was we wanted people to have an audience, and Red was rehearsing the TV show. So he didn't make the book, and people like John Ritter, again, we're in the planning stages of a sequel for next Halloween called The Show Can't Go On, and would include many of those TV stars who died, and some or movie stars like John Candy, who was shooting a movie, went back to his hotel room, went to sleep, and never woke up. So, there's enough to fill a sequel, and will include many TV and movie stars who we all know very well.
Excellent. Yeah, looking forward to that. And again, this isn't always something people want to talk about, but then at the same time, definitely fascinating. It's great you guys got it all together. And Jeff, I also wanted to ask you about your record collection, the largest collection of comedy albums. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a wonderful hobby. The nice thing is it's not like early blues or jazz. They're generally not as expensive, but I've really made a point of tracking down the very obscure. And, of course, there's Bob Newhart and, Red Fox and all the great comedians. But I love all the regional guys you've never heard of who are maybe sell them after their show. So, yeah, I have a record collection of comedies / spoken word that numbers in about 5,000. And I once did a radio podcast. It was guys so obscure that I never even heard of them.
That's awesome. Jeff, I also got to ask you about your time working with George Carlin. I named my son Carlin. I was sad I never got a chance to meet him in person, but that must have been great working with him.
One of the nicest men you will ever meet. I worked with George up until the last 11 years of his life. Didn't on stage, but it's almost this kind of ironic thing. He was named the 11th recipient of the Mark Twain Awards and died 10 days later after receiving such an honor. So it gives you, we need to appreciate those moments because you're here 1 minute and the next minute you're not. I was with George about a month before he died. He was 71 at the time. He talked about, I want to do this, and then I want to do that, and figure at age 75, I'll retire. And I said to his manager afterwards, he said, I'm guaranteed for a job for the next 4 years. Little did I know that he would die a month later. So we need to really appreciate those moments. Definitely.
Well, Jeff, again, the show Won't Go On is out now. Is there something else maybe coming up that we should be looking out for from you?
No, I think the book is a wonderful book. I said it's great for Halloween, and hopefully next year we'll be having this same conversation about the sequel.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to that for sure, and thank you so much for your time, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
You got it. Thank you so much.
And again, that was author Jeff Abraham and his new book, The Show Won't Go On, The Most Shocking, Bizarre, and Historic Deaths of Performers on Stage, is available now.